Before we begin laying down any soft pastels, I've chosen a palette of colors. So this is the set I will be working from to create this wave painting. So I'm going to begin by applying the blue to the background water. I'm going to apply the pastel in light layers before proceeding with a underpainting technique. I'm going to follow the curve of the wave. Like that. Now I would like to work on the top crest of the wave, which is actually a darker shade of bluish green. It has a little bit of a blue-green color. So I want to apply that to the very top of the wave. I'm going to use the same color underneath the wave. And I'm going to use it at the very base of the wave where the color is actually darker. This will actually ride up into the wave. And then color will lighten a little bit in here. I'm going to apply a very soft shade of green in the area where the wave is spilling over. I'm going to add a shade of blue to the white water, because the white water is never really white, but a combination of colors that shape the foam turbulence. This area is where the water is reflecting from the curling wave. So I want to add some of that green in there. I'd like to go back to adding the blue to the foreground water. Now I'm ready to apply my Isopropyl alcohol. I'm using this 91% alcohol, but you can use any rubbing alcohol or water to apply the wash. I like using this 91% alcohol because it dries very quickly. And I'm using a soft brush to blend with, and I have a jar with my alcohol. I'll give that a couple minutes to dry, and we will begin adding dry pastel over it. And I'm going to blend a little bit more. You can still see the first layer that I applied with the alcohol wash is still showing through it, and I'm creating some transparent layers on top of it. We don't want to completely cover up our bottom layer. Okay, I'll lightly rub this. I don't want to blend it in too much. We just need some distant wave texture. Then, on the top of these small cresting waves, I'll add a little bit of light blue to give them a little more definition. So I think our water is definitely beginning to blend nicely now. So I'm going to begin working on this white water that is spilling over and foaming up. I am going to use some gray to create some of the shadows forming in this surging water. I will use the white pastel as the top layer of our foam. So it's important to have your darker values added first before we begin applying the lighter colors. Okay, so now I'll begin blending this a little bit. I'm just going to use a small applicator to do this part. This will give the white water more fullness, and it'll look like it's really surging over and foaming up. Okay, I'll do a little more blending here, slowly building up our layers. So now you can begin to see some of the spray occurring inside this white water. So I'm going to continue building this a little bit more, and then we'll move on. So for now, this is a nice base for this white water. I do need to add more details to it, but I'd like to continue working on this large wave. I'm going to add a little bit of green underneath this breaking wave in this area. And then I'm going to add a little more of my blue. So now I'm going to blend it with my applicator. So we have some nice rays of light in our water. This white water foam floats on the surface of the water, and I just want to map out some of these areas, and then I'll come back and add white where needed to emphasize the foam flowing onto the shore. The water at the base of the wave here splashes up as it strikes the water below. So I want to add some of that splashing vertical movement into our wave. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to create some of this spray and very gently scrape onto my paper. And you can see here, it doesn't take much. I'm just tapping the edge of my pastel to create some of this spray. I'm using the round end of my pastel stick, and it pushes it into the grain of the UART sanded paper, and that will complete this demonstration.